It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning. I am joined in the studio to give a fresh perspective on the mortgage market by Bill Sandvig of Movement Mortgage. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Brian. Glad to be back on the show.
Crazy week, crazy month, crazy year. I feel like every week I come in here and I say, wow, that was a busy week. And it just hasn't slowed down, really. I know kind of same for you, right?
It hasn't slowed down at all. I mean, actually, I feel like I've had a pickup on the last month or two. I think you have as well.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
A little pickup in sales, which has been nice. We're going to take some calls this morning. So if you'd like to reach us here in the studio, any questions, real estate related, anything having to do with buying, selling, investing, anything having to do with a mortgage, feel free to give us a call here in the studio. The number here is 843-556-1250. 843-556-1250. If you'd like to reach out to me personally, if you have a question, comment, or concern, you're thinking about buying or selling a home, feel free to go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and on that website you can take a look at everything I have for sale, everything I have sold. Search the MLS. You can take a look at every available listing from every real estate agent and company in our MLS system. You can read some testimonials from past clients, and if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about what I do to market my properties for sale. You can see a list of homes that I've sold this year that other agents did not sell. And you can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I'll sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. Not a bad deal. So contact me, listingsincharleston.com, for that information. So what I'd like to do first this morning is I'd like to just give you a general market overview. We do this once a month toward the end of the month, and we just give you an idea of where the numbers are. We give you an idea of where we stand compared to this time last year, and we really just look at our year-to-date numbers. You know, we know that last year was a great year in real estate for the Charleston Tri-County area. Really, it was a great year nationally. And this year really shaping up to be no different. I mean, it really has been a strong year for sales and price increases. A lot of that has to do with the inventory. Our inventory continues to struggle. We continue to try and put new listings on the market at a faster pace than they're selling. And we're just not quite getting there. In fact, the months of inventory right now is down 18% when you compare it to this time last year. So we're at 5 months worth of inventory in the Charleston Tri-County area, and that represents a seller's market. So people thinking about selling your house, we're going to talk a lot about that this hour, but still a fantastic market to sell your home in. What I'd like to do is I'm just going to go through each of these categories really quickly. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to call us here in the studio. We are taking calls this morning. 843-556-1250. And Bill, I'm going to ask you in a few minutes to just give us a little bit of a reflection on the mortgage market, where are interest rates, best and worst case scenarios, all that fun stuff.
That's what I'm here for.
Excellent. So let's talk first about new listings, because that's really what's driving, in my opinion, these numbers as a whole. If you look at new listings right now, year to date versus the same amount of time in 2013, new listings are up a little over 5%. So far this year, we've had close to 18,000 new listings hit the market. If you look at our sales, we've sold about 12,500 properties. That's up 8% over this time last year. So that obviously affects the months of inventory that we have, which is really what real estate agents use to measure the health of a real estate market. We say that a normal, balanced market where there's no upward or downward pressure on pricing, there's no oversupply or undersupply of homes or buyers, is somewhere between 6 and 8 months for average priced homes. I'm not talking about luxury properties. And we're at 5 months. So we're in a strong market. That number represents continued recovery for us, both in pricing and it will continue to fuel sales. But we really need to get some listings on the market. I'm going to talk a little bit later on in this program about some of the reflections that I have in a training program that both Bill and I are in, actually. Bill, I forgot that you were in there for a second, because it's normally for real estate agents, but you're in there as a mortgage broker. And I'm going to give you some insight into the market from the 75 or so real estate agents that are in that training program because I think it's fascinating. But that's what's going on just overall. If you look at our median sales price so far this year, we're up 7% compared to the year-to-date figures last year. And if you know, last year we were up over 10% in pricing. That represents, in some markets, close to a 20% increase in pricing.
In 2 years.
In 2 years.
Yeah.
And so, if where are those markets? Well, I would say downtown Charleston in some pockets.
Mount Pleasant,
south of the Isle of Palms connector. Well, and north of the Isle of Palms connector too. And then it's been nice to see some of the areas in Berkeley and Dorchester County really take off as well. They kind of were lagging behind Charleston County in 2013. But overall, our market's in great shape.
I'm hearing the stories around, from agent after agent. The stories have shifted from the rising prices, the down inventory, urgency on the buyer side is there. Mm-hmm. The story after story is, I wrote another contract, I lost another contract. Just multiple offers coming in.
Right.
And people having to go after 2, 3, 4 houses.
Right. And we're going to talk about negotiating contracts and how a lender can help you with that in this next segment. But overall, that's what's going on in our market. And I'm going to get more specific than that. I'm going to actually talk about Berkeley, Charleston, and Dorchester County. Before I do that, if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to discuss, give us a call here in the studio, 843-556-1250. Let's look at Berkeley County. Let's look at some of these numbers. And I like to split this up between single-family detached homes and then single-family attached homes. A single-family attached home is a condo or a townhouse. And I just like to differentiate those two markets because the numbers for them are considerably different in some cases. So Berkeley County for single-family homes, new listings are up 14% from last year. Closings are up 18% from last year. The median sales price is up 6% from last year. And the average days on market is actually down almost 11%. It's taking on average 75 days to sell a house in Berkeley County. If you look at the condos and townhouses, we have had a 16% increase in new listings, a 16% increase in closings. Median sales price is up 3%. And days on market is down 25%. It's only taking 61 days to sell a home, condo or townhouse in Berkeley County. So it's been really nice to see the sales take off in those areas. Moving over to Charleston County, Charleston County really is the bulk of the sales that we have in our market. And it's also the most diverse of all three counties because we've got beach properties, we've got historic properties, second homes, and everything in between. So if we look at single-family homes and we look at new listings, this is the problem. We have had a 0.6% increase in new listings. Last year at this time, we had 7,130 new listings hit the market. This year, we have 7,172 listings that have hit the market. Only 42 new homes have hit the market compared to this time last year. Yet, when we look at closings are up 4.5%. That is what's driving this massive number that I'm about to tell you, which is the median sales price increase of 10%. So if we look at Charleston County in 2013, it was over 10%. We look at Charleston County in 2014, it's over 10%. That's a huge number. And it's starting to affect the affordability for buyers in that first-time home buyer price range in Charleston County, which is what's pushing them to Berkeley or Dorchester County, which is why you're seeing those increase in sales. We just haven't seen that massive increase in pricing yet.
Yeah, without question. I mean, prices go up, and you're looking at a different house that you were looking at last year.
Right. Yeah. So looking at the condos and townhouses in Charleston County, new listings, again, in the condos and townhouse market are only up 1.2%. Closings are only up 1%, but pricing is up almost 10% for condos and townhouses as well. By the way, it only takes 82 days to sell a property in Charleston County. Pretty fascinating stuff. Prices just continue to go up. And I know we've talked about this a lot on this program, is what's fueling that increase in pricing? Well, it's a lack of inventory.
Yeah, I mean, every single stat you read out was trending for inventory going down. Every single one. Right.
Let's talk lastly about Dorchester County here. For single-family homes, new listings are up 6%. Closings are up 10%. The median sales price is up 6%. It's taking 75 days on average to sell a house in Dorchester County. And if you look at the condo and townhouse market, new listings are up 8%. Closings are up 11%. And then this is a fascinating number. Median sales price is up 26.3%. for condos and townhouses in Dorchester County.
Oh, my goodness.
Keep in mind, we've only had 193 properties that have sold that are condos and townhouses in Dorchester County. So
I wonder if there's a new project that,
you get some
project.
You get some new construction, you get some higher priced properties in Dorchester County, and that skews the number significantly, especially when you're working with such a small sample size, really.
Sure.
And then on average, it's taking 71 days to sell a condo or townhouse in Dorchester County. So overall, that's what's going on in the market. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how to negotiate in this type of environment. And we're going to talk with Bill Sandvig of Movement Mortgage about how he can help with that process. We're also going to ask you a little bit about the mortgage market. So all that and more. Stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Again, give us a call in the studio, 843-556-1250. Or visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 8 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Thanks again for joining me this morning. We are taking calls live this morning. Feel free to call us in the studio. Our number here, 843-556-1250. 843-556-1250. We're going to talk with Bill Sandvig of Movement Mortgage about the mortgage market in general. And then we're also going to talk about how he can help when it comes to negotiating, whether it be for a buyer or for a seller. We're going to ask him some specific questions, let him talk on that regard. But again, any questions, feel free to call into the studio, 843-556-1250. And if you'd like to reach me personally, you have something you're interested in selling, you want to buy a house, you want to invest in real estate, go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. And on that website, you can click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I'll sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So details on that at listingsincharleston.com. So, Bill, give me just an idea over the past 3 months of the best and the worst interest rate that you've seen that still allowed a buyer to buy a house.
Sure. So over the last 3 months, rates have held relatively flat over the course of that time. Small moves, except for one day a couple weeks ago, and the market crashed, I don't know if you remember, and rates just fell for maybe about 3 hours. So if you exclude that moment where rates just bottomed out for a couple hours and my phone blew up for everyone trying to lock in an interest rate all of a sudden, I've seen as low as 3.75 on a conventional, as high as 4.75 depending on credit.
Okay.
And then on an FHA loan as low as 3.5 and as high as 4.25. Right now, if you were to lock in with decent credit, conventional conforming is around 4%, and an FHA or VA government loan around 3.75. The state of the mortgage market over the course of 2014, real quick, the mortgage industry actually contracted by about 35%.
What does that mean?
So less people were getting mortgages. About 35%, excuse me. About 35% of all volume or all mortgages across the country fell. That was driven by higher interest rates than we've had for the last couple of years, and so refinances went down. Purchase market is up. And Movement Mortgage, actually, while the industry fell 35%, we saw 45% in growth over 2014 because we are a purchase-oriented company. So we're pretty proud of that fact.
Yeah,
one thing
great.
I wanted to point out from the last segment is, if you're out there, one thing that we were talking about is across the Tri-County area, significant increases in value over the last 2 years. That means if you got a mortgage in the last 2 years, you've got equity you didn't have before, you can think about getting a refinance. Drop that mortgage insurance. Get out of an FHA loan into a conventional loan. Save you quite a bit of money. If you have any questions about that, you can find me at www.lowcountrylending.com.
Okay, and I do have a question for you about that. Whether you get an FHA or a conventional loan, let's say you put down 5%, right? And you have to put down a minimum of 20 to avoid PMI, private mortgage insurance. If you have 20% equity in your property, can you refinance and get rid of PMI through a conventional and an FHA loan?
So on a conventional loan, yes.
Okay.
If you refinance and have 20% equity, your mortgage insurance would go away. An FHA loan, you could put 50% down and you still have mortgage insurance. The FHA rules have changed just in this year, and it doesn't matter how much you put down, you're going to have mortgage insurance. And if you don't put down enough, you'll actually have mortgage insurance for life or for the entire life of the loan. So the only way mortgage insurance is going to go away is if you refinance.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about negotiating for clients. We've had several deals this year together, both on the buyer side and on the seller side, because you work with our buyer agents. And then, of course, you're my preferred lender, so that whenever an offer is presented to one of my sellers, I try and get them to contact you so that I know that the buyer that wants to buy my listing is actually pre-approved. So help the listeners understand, again, really quickly, and I know we've covered this in the past, but new people are always listening. Tell us the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. What is the bare minimum that somebody can do to say, yep, it looks like you might be able to possibly get a mortgage?
Mm-hmm. So the bare minimum, and what a lot of lenders out there do, is they have a conversation with a customer and they ask them what their income is and they ask them how much money they have in the bank. And based on that conversation, they type up a letter and say, go buy a house.
Do they have to pull credit in order to do that?
They don't have to. I mean, I would hope that they are. I would hope that a lender is not out there writing those kind of letters and putting those people in those kind of situations. But when you're selling a house, what do you have to go on? All you have is a piece of paper. You have to assume that that person that typed up that letter, that loan officer, did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And who's to say that the customer said, look, I'm in great shape. I know I've got 810 credit score, but I just can't fill out the application right now. And I don't have time to tell you, but I really need this letter. You're not going to get my business if you don't type up this letter for me. I got great credit. Can you give it to my realtor? I mean, who's to say that didn't happen? And the loan officer succumbed to that pressure trying to get a deal.
Right.
And that's why we have such fall through. I mean, you hear the stories where they had a pre-qualification letter. Now it's 4 weeks later and they can't get a deal.
Well, it's very important for people that are listening to understand that as a listing agent, as somebody that represents the seller, I have the right contractually to verify the financial viability of that buyer. I have the right to call that buyer's lender and ask some questions about what they did to produce that letter. Because the scary thing for me is, I sell about 100 houses a year, and I look at these pre-qualification or these pre-approval letters, and they're form letters. They're not unique to that particular person except for the date, the name, and the address and the price.
Exactly right. Exactly.
So how am I to know that they went through that entire process? How do I know they didn't just say, hey, well, yeah, I just had my credit pulled yesterday, so I'm just going to tell you that it's a 780, but I don't want you to pull it again because I don't want it to go down.
Right.
That's scary. And it's my job as a professional to make sure that if I'm going to negotiate a contract on my seller's behalf, that the buyer that we choose is somebody that has gone through that process and has at least, at a very minimum, had their credit pulled to get a pre-qualification letter. If I find out that the lender tells me, no, he just told me what his credit score is, that is a huge red flag. And frankly, I'm going to tell my seller, you need to tell this person that they need to get a pre-approval before we take this contract, because the last thing that I want is for you to accept this offer, take your house off the market effectively, work with this buyer to try and purchase it, and have no backing as to whether or not we know they're going to be able to purchase the property.
And that segues into what we need to do different. The question in the industry has always been, to the buyer's agent will ask the buyer, have you been pre-qualified? And we just went over how pre-qualification can be it could be not worth the paper that it was printed on. The question should be, have you been approved through underwriting? Mm-hmm. Have you been approved through underwriting? And if a customer has taken the time to submit full income and asset documents, at Movement Mortgage, we take and treat that application the exact same as if it was an application with a purchase contract ratified. We're going to send that application in, and in less than 6 business hours, our underwriter is going to do a full review and issue a commitment letter and approve that person, make a commitment to lend on that person.
It's really important. And for anybody listening, if you're a seller and you had a deal fall through due to financing, or if you're a buyer and something didn't work out and the lender didn't tell you why it didn't work out, or if you just have any questions in general, we are taking calls this morning. Feel free to give us a call, 843-556-1250, 843-556-1250. So go ahead.
Yeah, when people take that time to go through that process, it is obviously the seller is going to be happier. They've got a commitment letter in their hands with the offer. The buyers and the buyer's agents need to understand, and your team understands this is, to a T, is as a buyer, you can get a better deal on a house because you've taken these steps. When you make an offer with an approval letter, it's almost like cash. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows if you're buying cash, you want to try and get a deal.
Sure.
You want to try and negotiate a lower price because there's no risk to the selling side. We're making your deals, your buyers, look like a cash offer. They're going to stand out in multiple offer situations. They're going to have better negotiating power at the table. They can close faster. It's really a win-win. And you were talking about you have a right to call the people that are going to buy your listings. Mm-hmm. For your agents and for other buyer agents, I've always taken it a step further. I actively go out and make that call. I reach out to the listing agent and I tell them, look, we are approved with this client. Let me explain to you what that means. This is a solid deal. I was like, there is no risk here. We don't even really need to have a financing contingency on this contract because it's done. We're done with underwriting. And how quick would you like to close? You want to close in 2 weeks? You want to close in 10 days? We can make that happen.
I hope y'all understood what Bill just said, because that's pretty incredible. And I think that's why your market share has grown so much, and that's why I've aligned with you, is because you go that extra step. So I'm just going to reiterate for the people that might not have heard it, for the people that might have missed it. He's going to call the listing agent for the buyers that he represents to tell them where that buyer is in the underwriting process. And one of the big things about Movement Mortgage is that they are going to underwrite the loan before the offer is made. So that he gets to call the listing agent and say, hey, they are not pre-approved, they are not pre-qualified, they are approved.
Yeah. Do I have 30 seconds to tell a quick story?
You do.
So just this last week, had an agent come to me. We took a client's application. They were in love with this house. They said, it's this house or we're not going to move from our current house. And this was a big contract. It was a $600,000 deal for a new agent, and he was stoked. Well, while I was sitting at the table with them, going over their application, the house ratified with another buyer. Mm-hmm. And they would call me up the next day and they were heartbroken. I said, let's continue. You've already given me all the stuff. We're going to submit this into underwriting this morning. We did it. We had the approval that afternoon. That afternoon, I told the agent, go ahead and submit a backup offer. We'll just do it. You never know. Well, I called up the listing agent. I called up the builder and I said, I have an approved client. This offer that's coming in, they're approved. If the other one falls through, I can close this in 2 weeks and you won't even lose any time on the house. They put an offer in that was $15,000 less than the contract that was already ratified. Because I made those phone calls, they were not incentivized to work with the current contract that they had. When that person missed their financing contingency date and their communication wasn't great, they sent them a release of contract. They sent back the contract that my buyers had offered. They didn't even counter. They got the house for $15,000 cheaper, and we're closing in 2 weeks.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, and the agent, of course, this new agent, his first deal, a $600,000 contract, he can't even believe it's happening.
Yeah, that's not a bad purchase price for your first deal, but that's a great story. Again, we're taking calls this morning. 843-556-1250 is the number here in the studio. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to reflect on what I've learned in this training program that I've been taking over the past several weeks, because I'm taking it with 75 other agents, and Bill's included in that. So I'm going to give you some insight into what I've learned from other real estate agents in our market. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA.
Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Thanks again for joining me this morning. Again, we are taking some calls in the studio. Feel free to give us a call if you have any questions about the mortgage market, about buying, selling, investing in real estate. The number here is 843-556-1250. 843-556-1250. If you'd like to reach me personally, if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and you'd like to hire me as your real estate agent, again, I have been in the top 1% of agents here since 2009. Would love the opportunity to earn your business. Best way to contact me is to go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can take a look at all of my current and sold listings. You can read some testimonials from past clients. And if you're thinking about selling your home, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can see a small version of my marketing plan, and you can also learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I will sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So website for that, listingsincharleston.com. So Bill and I are in this training program offered through Keller Williams, which is the company that my team is stationed at. And it's an 8-week program, and it's every Monday for 8 weeks. It's a very, very interesting approach to training. Essentially, it's group coaching.
Right.
And there's somewhere between 75 and 80 real estate agents in this class of sorts. And let me just give you a very brief idea of what this is all about and why this is important and why I'm even talking about it. It's all about, number one, mindset for real estate agents. You know, a lot of real estate agents are struggling. To be in the top 10% of real estate agents in our market, you have to sell about a house a month, which means that 90% of the realtors in our market are struggling to make ends meet. So we first talk about mindset and kind of giving yourself that boost, if you will, to have the confidence to go out there and to sell real estate and to tell yourself that you can do it and that you can be successful. But aside from that, it's about learning how to manage your business. And it all goes back to, of course, being knowledgeable about the market and an expert in either representing a buyer or a seller. But it's also about contacts. You know, real estate is a contact sport. The more people you talk to, the more prospecting you do, the more business you will have. And that doesn't just apply to real estate. That applies to any business.
Oh, yeah.
And so here are some of my realizations from this program, which we call BOLD, which stands for Business Objectives and a Life by Design. Number one, we track the number of people that we talk to. We track the number of buyer contracts that we get, and we track the number of seller contracts that we get. And what we're finding collectively is that there are about 3 times as many buyers in our market as there are sellers entering the market. So I think we've had, I don't even know what the number is, but we've had about 3 times as many new buyers entering the market as there are sellers. And buyers that are out there looking at real estate right now usually are serious. You know, most buyers are not sacrificing time with family or going to holiday parties or doing something holiday related to go look at real estate and kick tires. Most of the people that are looking right now are serious. So while we're seeing a decrease in the quantity of showings, we're seeing an increase in the quality of the buyers.
And I can definitely confirm that, because when people get to that approved state, they're not sitting in my pipeline for long. I mean, they get approved and they're out writing a contract.
Yep. One of my other realizations is that there are a ton of sellers right now that are waiting until the beginning of the year or spring to list their house because that's what they've been told to do, when in reality, they need to sell their house now. And why not benefit from the lack of competition? You know, so many sellers that we're talking to right now are saying, you know what, we're just going to wait until the beginning of the year or spring. We don't want to have our house listed for sale during the holidays. You know, we don't want to have our holidays interrupted. And my rebuttal to that is, you know, look, that's what every other seller is saying right now, but there are buyers right now raising their hand saying, I want to buy something, but the inventory is not good. So they're being forced to wait, but they want to buy now. So if you're interested in selling now, why not benefit from that lack of competition? And if you don't want to have your home shown during the holidays, then just reject the showing. Just don't show your house.
If the family's at Thanksgiving dinner, then just say, the house isn't available right now.
Sorry, you can't see our house today. It's Thanksgiving. And I think most buyers will understand. And if they're not, having Thanksgiving themselves, then, Not your problem.
Thursday or Friday doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly. So, the idea that you don't want to have your home on the market during the holidays is understandable because a lot of people have family that comes and stays with them for an extended period of time. And a lot of people have mixed emotions on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But you could always just reject or reschedule a showing. If you want to sell now, get your home the exposure that it needs because it won't sell if it's not on the market.
Yeah, and it's a good the other coin is people are staging their houses right now. They're staging them for Christmas. They're staging them for holidays. And that can be a really great time to have someone come through and visualize what a house can be.
Right. What are some of your realizations from this program that we're doing?
I would say the number one takeaway for me has been how important activity and focused, concentrated activity and lead and contact generation is, and how it just bleeds into so many aspects of what we do. Even if you're actively going after listings, or if you're actively going after buyers, just that activity just bleeds into itself. I mean, one great example I think is you might be a listing agent, like you're a listing agent, for example, and your focus is on listing houses and helping people sell their houses. Well, if you're staying active in the generation side and touching as many buyers as possible, like your team does so well, you're actively selling someone's house. A listing that you have obtained, your team is out there generating business, generating leads. You're actively pursuing buyers, and that's a big takeaway that I've gotten from Bold and seen some of those top teams really understanding that and really grasping that fact.
And that's something that we've really grown into over the years. I mean, I remember in 2011, I did 55 transactions by myself with no help from anybody, and I don't ever want to do that again. I had no time. I kept all the money. I didn't have to pay anybody, but man, I had no life. And so fast forward now, and I run one of the top teams in Charleston, and my job is very focused. My job is to sell my sellers' listings. I have 3 buyer agents and some administrative staff, and our job every morning, it's two-pronged. The first prong is to get in touch with as many people as possible so that we can find buyers for our listings and we can find listings for our buyers.
That's a distinct point. Find buyers for your listings. Rather than just sit back and be a receiver, just post a house on the MLS and wait. The proactive activity, that was a huge takeaway for me for Bold.
Right. And what else I've learned is that people are choosing agents that are at the right place at the right time, more so than researching top agents in the market. And I think that the best example I can give is when somebody goes online and they go to Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com or whatever website they go to, and they click on a property for more information, they're just getting routed to whatever agent is on the little column on the right-hand side of that website. It might be the listing agent. It might be some random agent that pays for zip code ownership of leads in that area. Or it might be that they call a yard sign. They're driving around town. They see a yard sign. They call it up and they say, well, no, that doesn't sound like it's of interest to me, but what about this other one down the street? Can you show me that one? And then all of a sudden, this listing agent has a buyer, and they got that buyer because they were just in the right place at the right time. Activity breeds activity.
Yeah. More
listings breed more buyers, and that's why we've been able to get to the point where there are a collection of us, and we're doing 100 or so deals a year. One of the other big takeaways that I've found is that people still prefer to work with referrals more so than hiring just someone they know nothing about. But the nice thing about this program is that you for those that have been listening for quite a while, you know what I'm about. You know that I've got the experience. You know that I'm here to represent my client and their best interests. But there's a real lack of trust in our industry for real estate agents, and deservingly so. And I'm finding that a lot of real estate agents just don't understand their market. They are, like you said, very reactive rather than proactive. Yeah. They'll research a market if they get a lead for that particular house. But if you have a conversation with them, they're not going to be able to tell you what's going on in that area without having access to the MLS right in front of them.
Right.
And that's a little bit scary to me. People are not fully investigating and analyzing the markets that they want to do business within. They're just waiting for the other agents to bring them the deals, or they're waiting for some sort of lead generation software to bring them a buyer rather than doing what we do, and there's 8 of us on my team, and 3 hours a day, that's 120 hours a week that we spend prospecting for new business. And that's why, and I'm not, I guess I'm kind of tooting my own horn, but that's why I'm the top agent in this class, is because we have our systems down and we work our butts off. Mm-hmm. So those are some of my realizations, and the takeaway for you as the listener is that if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, the best thing to do, if you're considering hiring an agent, is just do some research. Make sure that you don't hire a weak agent at a weak point in time just because it was convenient. Do your research, interview them, ask the tough questions, and make them earn the business. There's nothing wrong with that. So stick around, because when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some success stories this year. We're also going to talk a little bit about some crazy people that we've had to deal with. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Again, give us a call in the studio, 843-556-1250, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, for more information on buying and selling a home.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for joining me this morning as we discuss all things real estate here in the Low Country. I always like to take a little bit of time just to say thanks for tuning in. And for those of you that listen to the show on a recurring basis, that have contacted me about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and that have already purchased something or sold something, we really appreciate the business. And if you've yet to contact me, if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, please give me a call. I'd love an opportunity to work with you personally. And again, I've been in the top 1% of agents here since 2009, and I'll do a good job for you. Best way to contact me personally is to go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can take a look at everything I have for sale, look at everything I've sold. You can read some testimonials. And if you're thinking about selling your house, again, click on that Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about what I do to market my properties, and you can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I will sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. Some restrictions apply, so contact me through my website to learn more about that. And we've got just a few minutes left this hour to talk about things in real estate here. We are in the studio. We are taking calls. So if there's anything we've said this morning or anything you want to chat about, call us in the studio, 843-556-1250. We've got Bill Sandvig of Movement Mortgage standing by to answer all of your exciting mortgage questions. But I
heard sarcasm because
I wanted to take just a few minutes and talk about some of the things that I've learned this year from the deals that I've done. And the more deals you do, it seems like you've got to build in a little bit of a percentage for just the crazy people that are out there in the world. I always have to look at those transactions and learn something from them, whether it be something that I can implement in the future or just something that I can watch out for and warn my clients about it. And, I've had some deals with agents this year where, my God, if I'm in a multiple offer situation, everything else being equal, I'm going to work with one agent over the other based on their behavior. One of the things that really irks me in this business is a lack of professionalism between real estate agents. Personally, I can't stand it when real estate agents talk to me over the phone and they're unprofessional and they use bad language and they talk to me like I'm their buddy. Hey, I'm here to be friendly, but I am not your friend when it comes to negotiating real estate for my client. And I know that we talked a little bit earlier this hour about some things that we can do with your help, Bill, as a lender to negotiate for our clients. And I guess if I could just say 3 quick things on that, because we didn't really get to, it would be that, number one, find out what's important to the other person and then play into that. When I'm a listing agent and someone makes us an offer, and the offer says that the seller is going to pay the buyer's closing costs and they've reduced the price of the house, one of the first questions I'm going to ask is, what's more important to the buyer, the closing costs or getting a better deal on the house?
Yeah.
Now, of course, that's after my seller allows me to have that conversation with that buyer, but you got to find out what's important to that buyer so you can play into the strengths of the contract and create a win-win situation for everybody. But a good deal in real estate is when both the buyer and the seller feel like they've given up just a little bit more than they thought they had to initially to get to get the deal done. Very rarely do you have one side over the other that's just like, yeah, gotcha. This deal is 100% in my favor. Of course, that's the goal. It just doesn't happen that often, especially in a seller's market. Number 2, don't disclose what's important to your client too early in the game. I've and I talk about this quite often on this program. It is amazing to me the amount of information a real estate agent will divulge about their client if you just ask the questions.
Yep, just ask
It's questions. Unbelievable. When you hire a real estate agent, one of the big things that you expect out of your agent is confidentiality. Mm-hmm. And confidentiality means that you're not going to give away information that might harm your client throughout the process of negotiating a deal for them. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing that I can call agents and I can ask them questions and get answers that I can use against them. And I do it all the time, and I don't feel bad about it.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
Because my job is to get the best deal possible for my client. And I'm sure that you would do the same thing in your industry. I'm not exactly sure what the parallel would be, but it's your job to make sure that that buyer gets that property. So if you call them and you go above and beyond and you say, hey, this buyer is already approved for a loan, not pre-approved, not pre-qualified, approved. They will get a mortgage as long as the house appraises. That's the equivalent of that.
I have asked, when I know things are in contract negotiations, I have asked the question, well, do you think that this is going to work, or do you think they're going to come down anything? And I'm quick to report back to my buyer's agent.
Right. And then the last thing is always get something when you give something. What would be an example of that in your opinion, Bill?
So a good example might be if you are trying to get the seller to pay closing fees, and if you're on the listing side, you say, well, if we're going to concede closing fees, then we're going to need a price to go up. You want $5,000 in closing fees? Well, that's important to your buyer. That's the only way they're going to get into this house. Well, we need to increase the price of the house by $6,000 to make that happen. Right. So if that's an important value add, then you could actually get a better deal for your customer, your seller, because of it. Mm-hmm.
So, and I want to say one quick success story because I know they're listening this morning, and it gives people, I think, some light at the end of the tunnel here about this time of year. I think a lot of people are doom and gloom about real estate this time of year, but in reality, for the past several years, November and December have been extremely strong months in sales for me and for my team.
For me as well.
But it's because we have good work ethic, and it's because we show up to work. And look, everybody in every industry at some point is going to need to take a little bit of a break. They're going to have to pull back just a little bit, spend some time with family, relax, go on vacation, do whatever it is they need to do. But when I'm at work, I'm working. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of market share to be taken right now because most real estate agents are just not into it. They're just not working. So here's the quick success story, and this goes out to any seller that's thinking about selling their house right now, but has been told to wait otherwise. I met with the seller. They're a close friend of mine. We talked about listing their property for sale, and it's the highest price per square foot in their neighborhood. Okay, nothing else in the neighborhood has sold at this level in the past several years. We decided to wait about a week before we actually put it on the market. And in doing so, that gave me about a week to do some pre-marketing. So I put the sign in the front lawn. I contacted my database. I did some pre-listing marketing online. I contacted some real estate agents in the area, and we sold it for full price before it even hit the market. If that's not an indication of the demand of buyers right now looking for quality listings, I don't know how else to put it to you. So if you're thinking about selling your house, now is a good time, assuming that you're willing to sell your home during the holidays, to get your home on the market and to get your home sold. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Bill, how can people contact you?
You can find me at lowcountrylending.com or 843-300-7870.
This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Again, listingsincharleston.com is my website to contact me. Have a great weekend.
us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning from 8 till 9. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.